The Galactic Council chamber was the largest structure ever built in known space. It floated above a dying blue star, surrounded by rings of light and defense platforms. Inside, the chamber was shaped like a giant circle. Tier after tier of seats rose high into the shadows. Hundreds of species filled those seats, tall beings made of crystal, armored warlords with red eyes, floating minds inside glass spheres, and creatures that moved like shadows across the floor. At the very center stood one figure, old, thin, silent, the Elder of Tharkel. He was older than most civilizations present in the room. He had seen empires rise and burn to dust. He had watched stars collapse. He had lived through wars that erased entire species from history, and today, he looked afraid. That alone made the air heavy. The Speaker of the Council, a tall metallic being from the Karth Dominion, struck the floor with a staff of silver light. "The matter before us," the Speaker announced, "is the human retaliation. Beyond threat." Soft laughter spread through the chamber. A holographic image of Earth rotated slowly in the air. Blue oceans, white clouds, small and fragile compared to the massive homeworlds of the greater empires. A Zyrex warlord leaned forward in his seat. His armor clanked loudly as he spoke. "The humans have lost 12 outer colonies," he said. "Their fleets were destroyed in 3 engagements. Their trade routes are broken. They are finished." More laughter followed. "Their soldiers fight with emotion," another delegate added. "They are reckless, predictable, short-lived." "Creatures," someone whispered. "They will sue for peace soon." Through all of it, the Elder remained silent. He did not look at the hologram of Earth. He looked at the star map behind it. Slowly, very slowly, he raised his hand. The chamber grew quiet, not because they feared him, but because of respect. Even the youngest species knew the Elder had never spoken without reason. The Speaker nodded. "You may speak." The Elder stepped forward. His robe dragged softly across the polished floor. "Humanity will not ask for peace," he said calmly. His voice was not loud, but it carried to every corner of the chamber. "They will not surrender." The Zyrex warlord made a rough sound of amusement. "They already have. Their fleets retreat." The Elder's glowing blue eyes turned toward him. "They are not retreating," the Elder said. "They are repositioning." Murmurs spread through the seats. The Speaker tilted his head. "Explain." The Elder pointed toward the star map. Human space was shrinking. Outer systems had gone dark over the past 3 months. "They are pulling inward," the Elder continued, "abandoning weak points, destroying their own stations so we cannot use them, gathering strength." "That is called defeat," the Zyrex warlord replied. "No," the Elder answered softly. "That is called patience." Silence fell for a moment. Then a crystal delegate began to glow brightly in laughter. "Patience? These are the same humans who charged our battleships head-on." "Yes," the Elder said. "And what did you learn from that battle?" The crystal being dimmed slightly. The human ships had been destroyed, but not before they transmitted full battle data across the network. They had studied alien weapons, alien shields, alien tactics. The Elder continued. "You attacked their colonies without warning. You broke trade treaties. You killed civilians. They were collateral damage," someone argued. The Elder's voice grew colder. "Humans record everything." The chamber quieted again. "They record names, faces, coordinates, dates." The Speaker shifted slightly. "You believe they seek revenge?" The Elder looked at him directly. "I do not believe," he said. "I know." A heavy silence filled the chamber. Then the Zyrex warlord laughed loudly. "Revenge requires power," he said. "They have none." The Elder's eyes brightened. "You mistake visible strength for true strength." A floating delegate from the Virex collective spoke. "Carefully. What do you suggest, Elder?" "Stop," he said simply. "Return the captured systems. Offer formal apology. Restore trade. Admit wrongdoing. The chamber exploded in outrage. Apologize? To humans? To a young species? The speaker struck the floor again for order. Your fear clouds your judgment, the speaker said carefully. Humanity is divided. Their governments argue among themselves. Their leaders change every few cycles. The elder nodded slowly. Yes. That is what makes them dangerous. Confusion spread across the chamber. They fight among themselves constantly, the elder explained. They argue, they disagree, they compete. But when an outside threat appears, he paused. They unite. A deep quiet followed. They are not the strongest species, the elder admitted. Not the oldest. Not the most advanced. But they are adaptable. He turned back to the star map. They learn faster than any race I have observed. They survive environments that kill others. They endure suffering that would break most civilizations. And when harmed, his voice lowered. They do not forget. The Zyrex warlord leaned back in his seat. So what do you predict? He asked mockingly. That they will conquer the galaxy? No, the elder said. That is not their way. The chamber waited. They will not conquer. They will correct. A chill moved through the room. Correct? The speaker repeated. They will remove what they see as a threat, and they will do it slowly, carefully, completely. The chamber remained silent for several seconds. Then laughter returned, not loud this time, but dismissive. The speaker lifted his staff. The council will now vote on whether to alter our position regarding humanity. Lights appeared across the chamber. One by one, they turned red. The vote passed. No apology, no withdrawal, no change. Humanity would remain classified as a minor, destabilized species. The elder closed his eyes briefly. It is done, the speaker said. Yes, the elder replied quietly. The chamber began to empty. Delegates spoke confidently among themselves. The old one worries too much. Humans are finished. They will beg within months. The elder remained in the center of the chamber long after most had left. The hologram of Earth still rotated, slowly. Blue oceans, white clouds. Peaceful. But then the image flickered. Several outer human systems blinked out on the star map. Not destroyed, just gone. Signals ended. Trade beacons disabled, military channels silent, the speaker noticed. Strange, he said. Another system abandoned. The elder stared at the map. No, he whispered. Not abandoned. On the outer edge of human space, a faint new signal appeared, encrypted, complex, spreading across multiple hidden relays. Then it vanished again. The speaker frowned. What was that? The elder's voice was barely audible. They are closing their doors. The last human diplomatic channel went dark. No farewell message, no surrender, just silence. The massive chamber suddenly felt colder. Far beyond the council's vision, in the darkness between stars, human shipyards were no longer producing trade, vessels. They were building something else, and for the first time in many centuries, the elder of Tharkel felt certain of one thing. The galaxy had just made a terrible mistake. 3 months passed after the council laughed at the elder. At first, nothing changed. Trade routes continued, empires expanded, military patrols guarded borders. News networks spoke about small pirate attacks and political drama. Human space remained. Quiet, too quiet. Outer colonies that once sent daily signals stopped broadcasting. Trade ships that normally crossed neutral space no longer appeared. Human diplomats stopped attending meetings. The galaxy took this as proof of defeat. They are collapsing, the Zyrex warlords announced proudly. They cannot survive without trade, the Karth Dominion agreed. But the elder of Tharkel did not celebrate. He stood alone in a high observation tower, watching the updated star maps every cycle. Human territory was shrinking. System after system went dark, but not from invasion. There were no battle reports, no distress signals, no explosions. Just silence. The Elder zoomed in on one system near. The border, Arcturon 5. It had once held a large human mining colony. Billions of tons of metal were extracted there every cycle. Now it showed nothing. No power signature. No heat. No movement. He sent a small unmanned probe to investigate. Days. Later, the probe returned its data. The colony was empty. Not destroyed. Empty. Buildings stood intact. Landing pads were clear. Machines were turned off carefully. It looked like the people had simply walked away. But humans did not abandon resources easily. The Elder felt something cold settle in his chest. This was not panic. This was planning. Across the galaxy, rumors began spreading. A Virex scout ship entered former human space to confirm weakness. It never came back. The Virex Collective sent another ship, larger and heavily armed. That ship also vanished. No wreckage was found. No debris field. Nothing. It is interference, the Virex leaders claimed. Asteroid collision, technical failure. But privately, fear began to grow. Meanwhile, inside the Galactic Council chamber, the speaker called another meeting. This silence benefits us, the speaker declared. Human retreat means reduced conflict. The Zyrex warlord nodded. Our border systems report no human presence. Then why, a smaller delegate asked carefully, are their military production signals increasing? The chamber quieted. Production signals? The speaker turned toward the data screens. Deep scans showed something unusual. Human core systems, the ones still active, were producing massive energy spikes. Shipyards were working beyond normal capacity. Resource shipments were moving, only inward, not outward. The Elder finally spoke. They are consolidating. The speaker looked irritated. Or they are desperate. The Elder shook his head slowly. Desperate species fight loudly. They do not go silent. Another month passed. Then something changed. A Zyrex border station detected a faint signal at the edge of its territory. A single human drone, small, unarmed. It transmitted one simple message before self-destructing. We remember. The Zyrex commanders laughed at the message. Emotional creatures, they said. But the Elder heard about the message and felt dread grow stronger, because humans did not send messages without purpose. 2 weeks later, a Zyrex patrol fleet disappeared. 5 cruisers, 2 destroyers, 1 command ship, gone during routine patrol. No distress call, no enemy signature detected. The Zyrex demanded answers. Long-range scans showed nothing except one strange detail. Every navigation buoy in the sector had been hacked, reprogrammed. Someone had studied their patrol routes, studied their timing, studied their blind spots, and waited. The council began to argue again. This is coincidence. Pirates. Internal sabotage. The Elder stood quietly until the noise faded. Humans are testing you, he said. Testing? The speaker repeated. Yes. They are measuring your response time, your communication delays, your weaknesses. He looked around the chamber slowly. You believe they are angry? You are wrong. They are calm. That word frightened some of the younger delegates. Anger was easier to fight. Calm meant control. Another system near human space went dark. But this time, it was not human. It was a small ally of the Zyrex, a minor empire that had supported the attack on human colonies months earlier. Their capital world stopped responding. A rescue fleet was sent immediately. When they arrived, they found something that made even hardened soldiers uneasy. The planet was intact, cities stood tall, defense systems were offline. Every military installation had been destroyed with perfect precision. Power grids were cut only to command centers. Civilian areas were untouched, and carved into the metal surface of the planet's orbital dock were simple words in standard galactic language. Lesson 1. The message spread across the galaxy within hours. Fear followed. The Zyrex warlord demanded, "Full mobilization, this is open war." he shouted inside the council chamber, but the elder spoke softly. No. This is controlled retaliation. The speaker turned toward him sharply. You speak as if you understand them. I do, the elder replied. I have studied them since they first built engines capable of leaving their moon. He looked at the star map again. More human systems were dark now, but deep scans revealed something new. Hidden signals, encrypted relays moving between asteroid belts, massive construction inside nebula clouds. Human fleets were not gone. They were hidden, growing, and improving. The Council finally began emergency preparations. Defense platforms were strengthened, borders were reinforced, allies were contacted. But there was one problem. They did not know where humanity would strike next or when. That uncertainty spread faster than any fleet. Trade slowed, insurance rates skyrocketed. Minor empires quietly withdrew from Zyrex alliances. Confidence was cracking. In his private chamber, the elder received a classified report. A human transmission had been intercepted. Only a small part was decoded. One sentence repeated multiple times. Patience is not weakness. The elder closed his eyes. He had hoped he was wrong. He had hoped humans would accept loss and move on. But now he understood the pattern clearly. This was not revenge driven by rage. This was justice designed by calculation. Weeks later, another major system went dark. This time it belonged directly to the Zyrex warlords, their primary shipyard. Gone. When investigation fleets arrived, they found the same pattern. Military targets eliminated, civilians unharmed. And another message burned into the metal remains of a shattered defense cannon. Lesson 2. Panic finally reached the Galactic Council. The laughter was gone. The speaker looked older. The Zyrex warlord no longer mocked. And in the center of the chamber, the elder of Tharkel spoke one final sentence before the emergency session ended. They are not attacking for territory. They are teaching you fear. The lights of the chamber dimmed as reports of another disappearing fleet arrived. Far beyond the Council's reach, hidden inside a dark nebula, thousands of human ships powered up in silence. No battle cries, no speeches, only calm voices and steady commands. Human commanders reviewed long lists of names, colonies destroyed, families lost, treaties broken. Each target was selected carefully, each strike planned months in advance, and as another alien military world prepared to power its shields. It was already too late. The galaxy had known war before. It had known invasions. It had known conquest. It had known extermination. But this was different. This war did not shout. It whispered. After Lesson 2, everything changed. The Zyrex Empire, once proud and loud, sealed its borders. Their fleets stopped celebrating. Their commanders stopped giving speeches. For the first time in generations, Zyrex children were told to stay inside underground cities. The Galactic Council entered permanent emergency session. Trade routes near a human space were abandoned. Insurance companies collapsed. Smaller empires began forming secret defense pacts. And still, humanity said nothing. No public declaration of war. No threats. No demands. Only silence. And then, it happened. The first major core world fell. Not a border colony. Not a minor ally. A true central power. The industrial heart of the Zyrex war machine. Korthal Prime. It was one of the most defended planets in the region. Orbital cannons, shield grids, thousands of warships stationed nearby. It should have been impossible to attack. But one cycle without warning, Korthal Prime lost contact with the outside galaxy. At first, commanders assumed a communication failure. Then, long-range scanners showed something impossible. The planet's defense grid was still active. The orbital cannons were still in position. But every military vessel around the planet was gone. Just gone. The Council sent a joint investigation fleet. What they found shook even the strongest leaders. Human ships were already there. Hundreds of them. Dark hulls, sharp angles, silent engines. They did not fire when the investigation fleet arrived. They did not attack civilians. Instead, they transmitted a single message across all frequencies. This world produced the weapons used against our colonies. A pause. It no longer will. Then, in full view of the arriving fleet, the humans did something unexpected. They disabled Korthal Prime's shipyards with precise orbital strikes. Each shot hit only factories. Each shot avoided population centers. Each shot was exact. It was not chaos. It was control. When Zyrex reinforcements arrived, the human fleet was already leaving, not retreating in panic, leaving in formation. Mission complete. Behind them, Korthal Prime still stood, but its ability to wage war was gone. The message carved into one disabled orbital platform was simple. Lesson 3. The galaxy felt it then. Not anger, not outrage. Fear. Back in the council chamber, voices no longer mocked the Elder. They demanded answers. How are they doing this? How do they know our weaknesses? How are they bypassing shields? Though Elder stood slowly. You taught them, he said. The speaker looked confused. We taught them nothing. Yes, the Elder replied softly. You showed them your weapons. You showed them your tactics. You showed them how you think. He turned toward the central star map. And they learned. Reports continued to flood in. Human fleets were striking supply chains, fuel depots, command relays, military academies. Always military, always strategic, never random. Virex's commander made a desperate proposal. We must unite. Full alliance. Combined fleets. Crush them in open battle. The idea sounded strong, but the Elder shook his head. That is what they want. Silence filled the room again. They are shaping the battlefield, the Elder explained. They remove your advantages first, then they choose the time. As if to prove his words true, another alert arrived. 3 major hyperspace gates near Zyrex territory had been destroyed simultaneously. Those gates connected entire regions of space. Without them, fleets would take weeks instead of days to respond. Human strikes increased, but still no full invasion, still no occupation, only removal. The galaxy slowly realized something terrible. Humanity was not trying to win quickly. They were trying to make sure no future attack on Earth would ever be possible, again. Months passed. Then came the moment that changed everything. Massive human fleet appeared openly for the first time. Not hidden, not striking from shadows. Visible. Thousands of ships gathered near the former border of human space. It was the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. The Council watched the live feed in silence. Zyrex commanders rushed their remaining fleets into position. This was it. The great battle, the revenge war. The Elder closed his eyes briefly. He had hoped it would not reach this point. The human fleet began moving forward, not toward civilian worlds, not toward random systems, straight toward the Zyrex High Command world. The capital. Panic exploded across. Zyrex networks' evacuation orders were sent. Defense cannons powered up. All remaining warships gathered for a final stand. The human fleet stopped just outside firing range. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then a transmission appeared. On every council screen, a human commander. Calm face, steady eyes, no anger. This is not conquest, she said. This is consequence. She displayed a list of events, dates, coordinates. Colonies destroyed months ago. Civilian death counts. Broken treaties. You were warned, she continued. Your own Elder told you. The camera shifted briefly to the Elder inside the council. Chamber, many eyes turned toward him. He said nothing. The human commander continued. Stand down your military leadership. Dismantle offensive command. Surrender those responsible for the initial attacks. Or we finish this. The Zyrex warlord roared in fury. We will never surrender. The human commander simply nodded once. Understood. The transmission ended. For a moment, time felt frozen. Then the human fleet moved, but not as expected. Instead of attacking the planet directly, they targeted something else: hidden command satellites, deep space weapon reserves, emergency response hubs. Within minutes, Zyrex military coordination collapsed. Ships could not communicate. Defense cannons lost targeting data. Chaos spread. Yet still, the humans did not fire on cities. They did not burn the planet. They dismantled power piece by piece. When it was over, Zyrex High Command was helpless. Their war leaders were captured, not killed, captured. The human fleet withdrew again, leaving the capital intact, but powerless. The message this time appeared across every system in the region. Lesson 4. Back. In the council chamber, no one laughed anymore. The elder finally spoke, his voice quiet but firm. They are not monsters. They are not conquerors. They are teachers. The speaker looked shaken. Teachers of what? The elder's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. Of accountability. Outside, across the galaxy, smaller empires began sending secret messages to Earth. Apologies, offers of peace, requests for protection. Because now everyone understood one simple truth. Humanity did not seek domination. They sought balance. And if balance required fear, they were willing to create it. Far beyond known space, in a hidden human command station, a final list remained. One last name circled, one final architect. Of the original colony attack still free, and as human fleets quietly prepared again, the galaxy held its breath. After Lesson 4, the galaxy changed, not slowly, not quietly, it changed all at once. The Zyrex Empire was no longer loud and proud. Their high command was broken. Their top war leaders were captured by humans. Their fleets were scattered and confused, but the Empire had not fallen. Not yet. Inside the Zyrex capital, fear spread faster than any human fleet. Citizens gathered in underground chambers. Military officers argued openly in public halls. News networks stopped pretending everything was under control. For the first time in centuries, the Zyrex people began asking a dangerous question. Why did we attack humanity? The original decision had come from one leader, Supreme Warlord Carex. He had ordered the strike on human colonies months ago. He believed humans were weak. He believed fear would keep them silent. Now he was hiding inside a fortified bunker deep beneath the capital. He refused to surrender. We still have ships, he told his remaining generals. We still have weapons, but even his generals no longer sounded confident. Our hyperspace gates are destroyed. Our outer supply lines are gone. Our allies are withdrawing support. Carex slammed his armored fist onto the table. Then, "We strike Earth directly," he shouted. The room went silent. Strike Earth? Even now? One general finally spoke carefully. They are waiting for that. Carex growled in anger. But he knew the truth. Human fleets were not attacking randomly. They were forcing the Zyrex into smaller and smaller spaces. And now, inside the Galactic Council chamber, the speaker called an emergency vote. This conflict must end, the speaker said. The Zyrex war began without full council approval. We cannot let the entire galaxy burn for one empire's mistake. Many delegates agreed. Quietly. Slowly. The Zyrex no longer had full support. The Elder of Tharkel stood once again in the center. You are learning, he said softly. The speaker looked tired. At great cost. The Elder nodded. Yes? A sudden alert interrupted the session. A massive human fleet had appeared again, but this time, not near Zyrex space. It appeared near a neutral trade system, one that had secretly supplied weapons to the Zyrex during the original human colony. Attacks. The council watched in silence. The trade world, Vantros 9, quickly powered its defenses, but the humans did not fire. Instead, they broadcast a full record of illegal weapon shipments, dates, contracts, signed agreements. Proof. The entire galaxy could see it. The leaders of Vantros 9 tried to deny it, but the evidence was clear. The human commander appeared again on screen. You chose profit over lives, she said calmly. You funded the destruction of our civilians. She paused. You will not do so again. Human ships. Disabled Vantros 9's orbital factories within minutes. Precise strikes. No civilian deaths. No mass destruction. Only removal of military capacity. Another message appeared across the system. Lesson 5. Now the pattern was impossible to ignore. Every strike followed logic. Every action had reason. Humanity was not spreading chaos. They were enforcing consequences. And the galaxy felt something new. Respect. Back on Zyrex Prime, Supreme Warlord Carex watched these events with growing panic. He realized something terrifying. The humans were isolating him, one by one. His supporters were falling away. Allies surrendered. Trade partners apologized. Neutral systems distanced themselves. The Zyrex Empire was alone. Carex made a final decision. He activated a hidden protocol. Deep beneath the capital, ancient weapons, powered on, forbidden weapons designed for planetary destruction. If he could not win, he would destroy Earth entirely, even if it meant mutual destruction. But he did not know something. Human intelligence had already discovered the hidden weapons months ago. They had been watching, waiting. The moment those weapons activated, a silent, human strike force jumped directly into Zyrex capital orbit. Not thousands of ships, only 12. Small, fast, advanced beyond anything the galaxy had seen. They moved with impossible speed. Before Zyrex defense cannons could lock on, the strike force targeted only one location, the bunker of Supreme Warlord Carex. Inside the bunker, alarms screamed. Carex shouted orders, but it was too late. Human boarding units breached the facility with perfect timing. They did not kill randomly. They did not fire wildly. They moved directly toward Carex. Minutes later, a new transmission appeared in the Galactic Council chamber. It showed Supreme Warlord Carex in restraints. Alive. Defeated. The human commander spoke again. The Boar, architect of the original attacks, has been captured. She looked directly into the council cameras. The war ends when accountability begins. Back on Zyrex Prime, the remaining military forces stood down. Without Carex, there was no unity, no command, no reason to continue. Across the galaxy, relief spread slowly, but the council was still uncertain. Would humanity now demand territory, power, control? The Elder watched carefully. He knew the answer. A final message from Earth was sent to every major system. It was not a threat. It was not a demand. It was a statement. We do not seek to rule you. We seek security. The systems taken from us will be restored. Those responsible for war crimes will stand trial. No further action will be taken. Silence followed. The galaxy had expected domination. Instead, they received limits. The Elder closed his eyes briefly. They have proven their strength, he said softly, and their restraint. The speaker nodded slowly. Then what happens? Now, the Elder looked at the star map. Human fleets were returning to their own space, rebuilding, repairing. No expansion beyond former borders. No empire rises today, the Elder answered. But something else does. What? Reputation. Far away in human territory, construction ships began rebuilding destroyed colonies. Families returned. Cities were reconstructed. Memorials were built for the fallen. But human military production did not stop. It only became quieter, more advanced. The galaxy understood something important. Humanity did not enjoy war, but once forced into it, they finished it completely, and they made sure it would never happen the same way again. Inside the council chamber, many delegates approached the Elder privately. You were right, they admitted. The Elder only replied with one sentence. I did not warn you because humans are evil. I warned you because humans endure. Outside, across the recovering Zyrex Empire, citizens watched as their former warlord was transported under heavy guard to stand trial before a joint tribunal. For the first time, justice in the galaxy did not belong only to the powerful. It belonged to those who survived. And as the stars slowly returned to normal patterns of trade and travel, one truth settled deep into every leader's mind. The galaxy had laughed at humanity once. It would never laugh again. The war was over, but peace did not feel peaceful. Across the galaxy, damaged fleets drifted in repair docks. Broken alliances struggled to rebuild trust. Trade routes slowly reopened, yet everyone waited for one event. The trial of Supreme Warlord, Carex. It would not take place on Earth. It would not take place on Zyrex Prime. It would happen inside the Galactic Council chamber itself. That decision alone shocked the galaxy. Never before had a war leader been judged in front of every major species. Never before had power been placed under public law. The chamber was full beyond capacity. Delegates from hundreds of systems attended in person or by hologram. News networks broadcast. Every second live. At the center of the chamber stood Carex. He was still tall, still armored, but now his armor carried no weapons. Behind him stood human guards, calm, silent, professional. No anger in their faces, only duty. The Speaker of the Council raised the staff of silver light. This tribunal begins. Here, the Speaker announced, charges were read aloud. Unauthorized military aggression, destruction of civilian colonies, violation of interstellar treaties, crimes against non-combatants. Each charge echoed across the chamber. Carex listened without lowering his head. When asked to speak, he did not deny the attacks. I acted for the strength of my empire, he said loudly. Humanity was growing too fast. They would have threatened us eventually. A quiet murmur moved through the chamber. The human commander who had led the fleet stood forward. She did not shout. She did not insult him. You attacked without warning, she said calmly. You targeted civilians. You destroyed colonies that posed no threat. Carex answered, that is war. The human commander shook her head slightly. No, that is fear. Silence followed. The elder of Tharkel watched closely. This moment mattered more than any battle. Because how humanity handled victory would shape the future. Evidence was shown. Footage of burning human settlements, transmissions of colonists asking for help, records of broken peace talks. Even some Zyrex delegates lowered their eyes. Carex's defense was simple. We were strong enough to do it. The elder closed his eyes briefly. That sentence revealed everything. The speaker turned to the council. The tribunal will vote on sentencing. The options were clear: execution, permanent imprisonment, exile. The chamber debated for hours. Some demanded death. Some argued that execution would only create more hatred. The human delegation remained quiet during the debate. Finally, the speaker turned to the human commander. What does humanity request? Every eye focused on her. This was the moment. Would they choose revenge? Would they show mercy? The human commander spoke slowly. We do not request execution. The chamber stirred in surprise. We request accountability. She looked directly at Carex. You will live. But you will live without power. You will witness the rebuilding of the colonies you destroyed. You will see the families return. You will understand the cost. A deep silence filled the chamber. Carex looked confused for the first time. Death would have been easier. The council voted. Permanent removal from power, lifetime imprisonment under joint supervision. The sentence passed. For the first time in galactic history, a war leader was punished not by destruction, but by justice. When the trial ended, something unexpected happened. Several smaller empires requested to speak. One by one, they admitted their support for the original attacks. Some had supplied resources. Some had provided political cover. They did not want to face Lesson 6. They apologized publicly. Humanity listened. They did not threaten. They did not insult. They accepted formal apologies under strict agreements. New treaties were drafted. Clear rules were written. Civilian colonies were officially placed under protected status across all council space. Breaking those protections would now bring united response, not just human response. The galaxy was changing. Later, in a private chamber, the speaker approached the elder. "It is over," the speaker said. The elder nodded slowly. "Yes, but something new begins." The speaker hesitated. "The council wishes to offer humanity a permanent seat." This had never been done so quickly for a species so young. But after what they had shown, no one could deny their influence. When the offer was presented to the human delegation, the chamber waited. The human commander stepped forward once more. "We accept," she said. A quiet wave moved through the chamber. Humanity was now officially part of the highest governing body in the galaxy, but the commander continued speaking. "We accept with one condition." The speaker tilted his head. "What condition?" "Transparency." The chamber murmured again. "All military actions between council members must be declared and reviewed. All colony disputes must go through mediation first. No secret strikes, no hidden alliances." The demand was bold. It limited everyone, not just humanity. Some delegates looked uncomfortable, but after what had happened, few dared to refuse. The vote passed, slowly, carefully. A new rule of law was born. After the session ended, the elder approached the human commander privately. "You have shown restraint," he said softly. The commander studied him for a moment. "You warned them," she replied. The elder nodded. They laughed. She allowed herself a small, quiet smile. They do not laugh now. Across the galaxy, rebuilding continued. Zyrex Prime began restructuring its government. Younger leaders rose, promising reform instead of aggression. Trade systems restored connections. Military budgets shifted toward defense instead of expansion. But in hidden shipyards within human space, something else also continued. Research, improvement, preparation, not for conquest, but for readiness, because humanity had learned something important too. Trust was valuable, but preparedness was survival. Months later, the council chamber felt different. Less arrogance, more caution. The star map displayed balanced borders once again. The elder stood quietly near the center, watching a new generation of delegates take their seats. A young representative from a distant system approached him. "Do you think the peace will last?" the young one asked. The elder looked toward the human seat across the chamber. Humans were speaking calmly with former rivals, negotiating trade agreements, sharing technology, rebuilding bridges. "Peace," the elder said slowly, "is not the absence of strength. It is the presence of balance." The young delegate considered that. "And humanity?" The elder's glowing eyes softened slightly. "They will defend that balance." He paused. "And if it is broken again?" The young delegate swallowed nervously. "Yes?" The elder looked back at the stars beyond the chamber's glass walls. "They will not need to warn you twice." And across the galaxy, for the first time in a long time, the stars felt steady, but everyone remembered. Once they had laughed at humanity. That memory would never fade. Years passed. The war became history, but it was not forgotten. Across the galaxy, new trade routes formed. Old enemies signed careful agreements. Military fleets still existed, but they no longer moved with arrogance. They moved with caution. Humanity, rebuilt faster than anyone expected. Destroyed colonies were restored. New cities rose from ashes. Memorials stood at the center of each rebuilt world, not statues of victory, but names of the lost. Humans did not celebrate the war. They remembered. Yet inside the Galactic Council chamber, things were different now. The seats once filled with pride were now filled with awareness. The human delegation sat among the oldest species as equals, not because they demanded power, but because they had earned respect. The elder of Tharkel had grown weaker over the years. His steps were slower, his glowing eyes dimmer, yet he still attended every major session. One day, a new crisis emerged. A distant young empire, barely spacefaring for 50 cycles, had attacked a weaker neighbor. It was a small conflict. Limited. Local. But the pattern felt familiar. Pride, fear, preemptive strike. The council gathered quickly. Some delegates suggested ignoring it. It is a minor conflict, one said. It does not threaten the core systems. The human representative listened quietly. Then she spoke. Every large war begins as a small one. Silence followed. The younger empire's leader appeared on the chamber screen. He looked confident. We acted to secure our future, he said. Our neighbors were growing. A quiet shift moved through the chamber. Those words echoed something old. The elder slowly turned his head toward the human delegate. She stood calmly. Did your neighbors attack you? She asked. No. Did they break treaty? No. Then you acted from fear. The young leader frowned. That is strategy. The human delegate's voice remained steady. It is the beginning of a mistake. The chamber felt tense. Everyone remembered another leader who once spoke the same way. The council voted to intervene diplomatically. A joint delegation was sent, including humans, not fleets, not weapons. Words. Negotiation lasted weeks. The young empire resisted at first, but something had changed in the galaxy. Other species no longer supported unprovoked aggression. Trade partners threatened sanctions. Defense alliances paused cooperation. Isolation began to grow around the young empire. Finally, the attacking fleet withdrew. Borders were restored. The war ended before it could grow. When the delegation returned, the elder requested permission to speak. He rarely did so now. The chamber quieted instantly. Years ago, he said slowly, I warned this council about humanity. Many lowered their eyes. I warned you not because humans were powerful. He paused. I warned you because they endure. He turned toward the human seats. They showed strength. They showed restraint. And they showed consequence. He looked back at the full chamber. Now you understand. The speaker nodded respectfully. Yes, we do. Later, in a private corridor overlooking the stars, the human representative stood beside the elder. You knew we would survive, she said softly. The elder gave a faint smile. I knew you would adapt. She studied the stars. We never wanted fear. The elder nodded. I know. But sometimes fear prevents greater destruction. Below them, ships moved peacefully along glowing trade lanes. Worlds that once prepared for invasion, now prepared for cooperation. But humanity did not grow weak. Their fleets still trained, their defenses still advanced, not for conquest, for readiness, because they had learned something deeply important. Peace without strength invites danger. Strength without control invites disaster. Balance requires both. Several cycles later, the elder's time came to an end. The oldest being in the galaxy passed quietly in his chamber. His final recorded message was played before the entire council. I have watched empires rise and fall, his voice said softly. I have seen pride destroy civilizations. He paused in the recording. But I have also seen something rare, a species that learned from pain. A species that answered destruction with discipline. A species that chose justice over domination. The screen showed the human delegation listening in silence. The galaxy laughed once. The elder's voice continued. It does not laugh now. The recording ended. The chamber remained silent for a long time. In honor of the elder, a new principle was written into council law. No preemptive strike without verified threat. No civilian colony to be targeted under any circumstance. Automatic, joint response to unlawful aggression. The rule passed unanimously, and everyone knew why. Years turned into decades. A new generation grew up across the stars. They learned about the lessons. Lesson 1. Lesson 2. Lesson 3. They were not taught as stories of destruction. They were taught as warnings about arrogance. Humanity became known not as conquerors, but as guardians of balance. Other species began sending their officers to study in human academies. Joint defense programs formed. Shared technology improved everyone's safety, yet deep within human space, one final monument stood on Earth itself, a simple wall of stone. Carved into it were the names of the colonies lost in the first attack. Above the names were 5 words, "Never again through weakness." It was not a threat. It was a promise. 1. Evening. Decades after the war, a young council delegate stood before the human representative and asked, "Do humans still seek revenge?" The representative looked out toward the stars. "No," she said. "We seek stability." The delegate hesitated. "And if someone ignores that stability?" The human gave a calm, steady answer. "Then we remind them." Far across the galaxy, trade ships crossed peaceful borders. Military fleets trained together instead of against each other. Disputes were brought to chambers instead of battlefields. The galaxy had not become perfect, but it had become careful. Because once long ago they had laughed at a warning, they had dismissed a patient species, they had believed silence meant weakness, they had been wrong, and now, whenever a leader considered striking first out of fear, they remembered the lessons. They remembered the silence that came before the storm. They remembered the calm voice that said, "This is not conquest, this is consequence." And most of all, they remembered the day the galaxy stopped laughing at humanity.